Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 30th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined for it seems like the umpteenth time already. We're only on the second day of the week, but Chris Jack joins us. How's it going, Chris?
Not too bad, Derek. It's always a pleasure, and there's always things to talk about. So it'd be worse if it was very quiet and we were struggling to get through. But no, we've always managed because there's always talking points.
Yeah, lots to talk about from yesterday and even this morning as well, with the official departure now of Connor Goldson. Before we get stuck right in, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors, MPH Boilers, the family-run, award-winning company covering all of mainland Scotland. They've got those excellent Viessmann boilers on offer. Do go check them out, folks, if that is something that you are requiring. Nobody wants a knackered old boiler as we approach the winter months. Right, let's get stuck in. We'll talk about Goldson first of all then, Chris. He has departed for Aris. That was a move that was mooted just a little over a week ago. I think at the time when he jetted out to Cyprus, there was an element of surprise that he could possibly be joining a Cypriot team. But he has signed for Aris Limassol, a 3-year deal, and he ends his 6-year stay in Glasgow. And in terms of fee, folks, no Rangers have said it's undisclosed. Hearings from the Cypriot side, it's possibly around 1.7 million euros with add-ons. What those add-ons are, I'm not entirely sure. But I think as time was up, Chris, I think we've been on many videos saying that perhaps a parting of the ways was now the time, and he's moved to Cyprus. Got to see a wee bit surprised that he's heading over there, but I think the vast majority of Rangers fans will wish him well in his future career.
I think just in terms of the fee, we're trying to get that confirmed from this end of it, but it's almost largely immaterial to Rangers. I think it's not a case of that we're selling Goldson to then have a big pot of cash and then go and reinvest in another centre half. You're looking at the wages that have been saved, and it's how you then go and reuse those wages to improve that area of the side. So I don't think the fee makes a massive difference. In terms of the timing of it, I think we'll agree that this is the right summer for Connor to move on. But I also hope, and seeing some of the comments on social media and some of the comments on the video this morning, I hope people look at his entire Rangers career and the whole 6 years rather than just a fairly poor, certainly by his standards, last 6 months, maybe even the entire season. Before that, he was part of a Rangers side that gave us so many excellent moments. 55 obviously being the highlight of it. Seville, Old Firm wins, like scoring twice at Parkhead, some of the European nights. There has been a number of highs in Connor Goldson's Rangers career. Of course, like so many players within this squad and within this group over recent seasons, there are a number of lows. Now, he will leave having not collected as many medals as he should have done. If Tav moves on this summer, that's the same as it was for Al McGregor last year, or Scott Arfield, or Ryan Kent, or Alfredo Morelos. A number of guys from this era of this Gerrard group, if you like, they should have won more, and that will always kind of take the edge off their legacy. I feel like Connor doesn't leave Rangers as a legend, but he certainly leaves as a very good, very consistent player for the club, who, when he came in, he did the job. Rangers needed reinforcements in that summer of 2018 when Gerrard came in. Goldson was someone that Gerrard could build the side round about. I say over the coming years, he did do a lot of good things, did some bad things, of course, but I hope that people don't just see, well, he was poor in the last season, and I'm delighted to get him gone. There's an argument that Rangers have now lost their best centre half. When you look at what is still there, have Rangers allowed their best centre half to leave the club? Potentially, yes, but I think it was the right thing to do, because that area of the pitch needed a big refresh and a big improvement. And now that Connor has moved on, Rangers need to go and find the next one. They need to invest in the next guy who's going to be able to play 50, 60 games a season, who's going to be that big figure on and off the pitch. And I said, Goldson has moved on, but the challenge now is for Rangers to replace him properly.
Yeah, that is a big challenge, because games are coming thick and fast and starting on Saturday. I've got to say, I have a little bit apprehensive, Chris, at the prospect of the back line going to Tynecastle. I know that Hearts are not in relatively good form at themselves, but Rangers need to bring in a centre-half. Now, in terms of players that have been linked, there haven't been many, it's fair to say. We know they missed out on Cordoba earlier in the window. Scott McKenna has been linked, of course, throughout the course of the summer window. But that aside, is there anyone else do you think a move is afoot now that Goldson's out the door, that they'll bring someone in ahead of that trip to Gorgie?
As you say, it has been quite quiet in terms of centre-half links over the last couple of weeks, over the last probably even longer than that, to be fair. I think it's an area that definitely needs improvement.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that. I asked the manager post-match on Saturday if he expected anyone in before the Hearts game, and he answered it how I expected he would answer it. But I think he will be fully aware that the fans expect a big presence, a big figure, and a quality acquisition in that area to come in. Rangers are not going to get away with the options that they've got at centre half, especially when there's now doubts over right back, and for me doubts over left back as well. So that defensive unit, it's not going to be enough to get Rangers over the line. It's not going to be the foundation they need to build on in terms of a title challenge. So there's real scope for improvement in that area. Hopefully now with Connor gone, I say that opens up possibilities in terms of the wages. Will someone new be in there for Saturday? Well, the clock is ticking in that regard, but certainly over the next couple of weeks, I think we're all expecting and all demanding that another centre half, maybe even two, are brought into this group.
Yep. If the game's tomorrow, Chris, who's your two centre backs?
Suter and Balogun.
Okay, interesting.
Are you going Suter and Davis?
I've quite liked the thought of Enciala, I've got to say, at left centre back. I would maybe go Balogun and Ciala, but Suter, yeah, I get the thinking behind that. I just want to see another centre back coming in and boosting that defence, which is, as you witnessed at first hand at the weekend, Chris, it is very much gettable at this moment in time. So, hopefully we see a bit of movement in the following days to come before Rangers head over the M8. Connor Goldson has departed, folks. That 3-year deal over to Aris at Limassol. In terms of other murmurings, one player that has been linked, of course, a forward linked earlier in the window, did a video on him, the Kosovan international, Albion Rahmani. Sorin Chiriak, who covers as a Romanian football journalist over there, is stating that Rapid Bucharest are expecting an offer for their striker in the coming days. They want €6 million plus a 20% sell-on. They are open to negotiations, though. We know that Rangers have been linked with him in the past. It's also thought there's a team in France and Belgium that are preparing an offer as well. Now, he didn't play last night. The reason being he was injured, but he's back training, but he wasn't fit enough to play any part in the game. Rapid Bucharest lost the match last night. But all accounts over there, they're expecting a bid. Whether that is the team from France, Belgium, or Rangers, who knows? But it's clear that a striker very much on as much as a centre-back is, Chris, I think there's been a host of strikers linked over the course of the summer. You confident of getting someone in before Saturday?
Well, before Saturday, I said the clock is ticking in that regard. I think as we touched on with Stevie on the show yesterday, this squad is far from finished. There is a lot of room for improvement. There is a lot of areas that still need reinforcement for that to happen. I think, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, we're almost in this one in, one out stage of the window now. We're in this second phase of it. The manager, Niels Coppin, got a handful of deals done early on. The likes of Enciala coming in, also Liam Kelly coming in. We're now in this next phase of it. Chernley is someone that I really like. I think he could be an interesting acquisition for us. In terms of somebody else coming in, I'd like to see him start on Saturday. Incidentally, I think you just pitch him in and you give him a chance and see what he can do. Before Saturday, I think it might be stretching it, but who knows? It's Rangers, and as we know, anything is possible. Anything can happen. But I think, as the manager has touched on during the time when we spoke to him out in Holland on pre-season, a couple of interviews that he's done post-match, he was also on Sky yesterday, he's fully aware that this is very much a work in progress and that further acquisitions are required. And I think we've said for quite some time, you judge the window as a whole at the end of it, but there are also certain moments, like the European squad having to be confirmed this week, like the first game this season, like the first European game next week. These are milestone moments where people look at the state of the squad and think it's a bit short, and Rangers are more than a bit short at present.
Yep, absolutely. And as you quite rightly say there, Chris, about the European squad, CGM55 says before Saturday. How about before Thursday for the Euro squad? Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, the recruitment team are working tirelessly to get bodies in the door and quality players at that. So that's it on Rakhmani, folks. I'll try and do it. Find out as soon as I hear from Serene who that club is, then we'll let you guys know. But yeah, I thought it was interesting him reporting that over the last 24 hours. One player who is in the building, who we didn't expect to see again in a Rangers jersey, given the manager's comments last week, Chris, when he came in after doing his press conference. He left, and then I've never seen this before, came back in to explain the Todd Cantwell situation. Now, in an interview with Sky yesterday on Cantwell, he says, I kept the door all the time open all these weeks. It was already a while ago that he came the first time with that. As long as a player is here and we believe in his qualities, the door is always open. But of course, we need to focus now on the guys who are totally with their minds in the club to get results in the next couple of weeks. We will see what happens. So that's what he had to say on Cantwell, saying that the door is open if he wishes to change his mind after telling him he wants a new adventure, he wants to leave the club. And we know that he has been offered to other clubs. His agent offered him to Lecce about a month ago now, I think it was. And as such, we think there's Saudi interest as well, but he is still a Rangers player. Do you think we'll see him again in a blue jersey?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think the fact that he's also not featured during the pre-season speaks volumes. So if you're looking for someone to play number 10 on Saturday, given the lack of action that he's had, he's also not an option. And I think if you make that decision, I think the manager also outlined it down at that Birmingham game last week that you were at. Todd went to him and had that conversation. His mind seems set on it. I think at some point the manager just has to almost write it off and say, well, he doesn't want to be here. His mind's not in it. His heart's not in it. It's now about Rangers maximising whatever fee they can get for him and allow him to move on. I think there's been a lot of talk about Cantwell over the course of his Rangers career, certainly in moments last season, about how much he contributes. Does he offer enough? For me, he doesn't. I think mentioned a couple of times at the start of the window, that number 10 area, if Clement is going to stick with this system, that area of the side needs a real upgrade. I know Tom Lawrence has had a decent pre-season, also scored a couple of goals there as well, but I think Rangers do need better. And if he was to stay at the club, they also need another option in there. You can't just have Lawrence, given his injury situation over the last couple of seasons as well. So you're looking at Hadji moving on. Lammers has moved on. Alec Lowry, who knows what the future holds for him. But Cantwell is also the big ticket item in that number 10 role. I think he should be allowed to leave. I can understand why Clement saying no, the door's never closed, because you never know what can happen. He can't say he'll never play for me again, and then a deal is not done and he's still at the football club, and you've then got a guy who wanted out and you all but banished. So that's not good for anyone. So I can understand the manager playing it that way in terms of his interviews, but I think he has to move on. He has to build a side, build a team, build a squad without Todd Cantwell, and it's now up to Cantwell and his representatives to go and try and find a move, get himself a deal, get out of Rangers as quickly as he can, and move on.
Yeah, I would be surprised to see him again in a Rangers jersey, but it's clear that he's not quite found a new employer. Whether Rangers can get him out the door in this transfer window, who knows? But you'd like to think they'd be able to do that. If the player is not invested in the squad going forward, then I think it's imperative Rangers move the player on. You mentioned Hadji there, of course. I think, was it last week, there was murmurings from Italy that he'd agreed personal terms with his former team, Fiorentina. I think still both clubs have to agree on a fee with regards to Hadji. I was hoping to actually speak to the Fiorentina manager. They were doing a pre-season tour of the northwest of England. They played Goldson on Friday night and then Preston on the Saturday. The round off with a trip to Hull City this evening, but unfortunately I was told that the manager will not be speaking, so unfortunately couldn't get an update on Hadji, but he's another one, Chris. I would be surprised if we see him again in a Rangers jersey. All the accounts, all the noise seems to suggest that he's moving out the door, and you'd like to think that it would bring in a bit of cash. The two of those, Cantwell and Hadji, how much realistically do you think Rangers should be bringing in for those two?
What was the? Don't think there was actually a fee ever announced on Cantwell, was it? It was during that kind of strange time when Rangers didn't announce any fees and didn't announce any contract lengths, and just basically just announced a player's name, and that was it. I think they're looking at probably a couple of million for the pair, or a couple of million each. Again, I don't think the fee is of huge significance because both will be on decent money, and you then look at how can those wages be used better. But I think that the fee for those two is more important than the fee for Connor Goldson, like we spoke about at the start. So I think if you can get a couple of million each for them, you wish them well, you send them on their way, and you then back the manager and back Neil Coppin to go and try and find upgrades in there. Because I think it's an area of the pitch where Rangers do need upgrades, and hopefully, so now we're in this phase of the window. It seems, but it is a case of they have to sell someone before they can then go and reinvest, and before they can go and buy. If those deals can get wrapped up over the next couple of days, hopefully we will see a bit of movement, because I think as these milestone dates approach, fans get more and more nervous. We went through that a couple of weeks or so after Liam Kelly came in, where it was then very quiet, and then also Tierney then happened fairly quickly. But Rangers are now really looking to hopefully try and move through the gears, I feel like, because as we've said, there's a lot of work still to be done.
Yeah, there certainly is. And that Champions League qualifier, the second leg, incidentally, the Dynamo Kiev and who are they playing again? Who they Partizan Belgrade. Yeah, they're 6-2 up for the first leg, so you'd imagine they'd go and finish the job in Serbia. That match taking place tomorrow, and then we'll find out who Rangers will face in the third qualifying round. The first leg taking place, you'd imagine, in Poland, where Dynamo Kiev are playing their matches. It will be a week. Will it be a week today, perhaps, or a week tomorrow? I think the Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, with the return at Ibrox. I wish at Hampden on the 30th of August, if I'm not mistaken. So huge matches coming up for Rangers, and let's hope there is some news of new arrivals. This I've seen this morning as well, Chris. I'm not too sure if you were on when we discussed this lad last week. James Skeen says, any news on the Hannibal bid? All accounts, a few reputable sources suggesting that Rangers' interest is very much real in the Man United midfielder in the final year of his contract. And he's spent time on loan at Birmingham and Sevilla. Tough tackling midfielder, likes to get around the pitch. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing him pitching up at Ibrox, Chris. I think he's a decent player, Tunisian international, and it's one of those ones. Watch this space, I think, with regards to that. One of a number of players that have been interested, that have been linked with Rangers, but Rangers said to be keen on him.
That Hampden Ibrox slip of the tongue is the first of many times we're going to make that mistake over the next few weeks. I've not made it in print yet. I'm amazed we've not made it more often on on the show. So if it happens, people don't shout at us. It's just one of them. We're just that used to saying back at Ibrox and Ibrox factor and all the rest of it. Hopefully we can avoid it and not make it too often. But it will slip through the net on a couple of occasions, no doubt. In terms of Hannibal, I asked someone about him on Sunday night when we were travelling back. I didn't really get anywhere on it, so it's on my to-do list to chase up again today. I think he's interesting profile. He could be an interesting player. Obviously after the Jordan deal falling through, we spoke about Rangers needing another midfielder. So I think I've been really impressed by Diomande so far this season. He's the standout in terms of pre-season for me. I think Connor Barron has started his Rangers career really well, and that's been really encouraging to see. Also, the blow in terms of the midfield was Raskins picking up that injury against Ajax, being ruled out for several weeks. It's then going to take him a couple of weeks to get back up to speed again. So you look at other options in there. Outside of those three, there's not a lot there. I think the Dowell we've spoken about in terms of probably allowed to move on if a deal can be done. You're then looking at the younger players like Cole McKinnon, probably not quite at it. Bailey Rice has only just come back into the squad. Again, it's going to take him time to try and establish himself. So out of all the areas that Rangers need reinforcements in, the middle of the pitch is not the most pressing one. I think that if you're going to prioritise who has to come in next, it's not a midfielder, but a midfielder does have to come in. Rangers need more strength and depth in that area. I think they need a different kind of midfielder as well. And I think Hannibal would be an interesting one. But I say, hopefully I'll get back on the case on that one today. And of course, if we get anything, it'll be on the site and be on our social media.
Yeah, they need an enforcer in there, a Barry Ferguson type that will just dictate play and take no nonsense. Someone that can bully opponents in the big games is what I'm looking for. So yeah, hopefully Rangers can get a deal over the line for, if it's not Hannibal, for someone in that area of the pitch. Lots of comments coming in. Stephen says, Derek, just don't do a player profile on him unless he does sign. Yeah, don't worry about that, Stephen. We'll get Yaz back on. We had him on for the Man United preview a couple of weeks ago now. So if he does sign, we'll get him on. He was good value, so he'll give us a bit of an update on Hannibal if that move is to materialise. Other big news yesterday, Chris, of course, we were on doing a video. Very busy yesterday, of course, is the interview from John Bennett given to Rangers TV, where he discussed a number of things, a 22-minute long interview. You can read everything he's got to say, folks, over on the website, and the link is in the description below this video as well. So he discusses the move to Hampden, the situation with regards to the steel and being on 3 shipments. The first shipments arrived. They're still awaiting the 2 other shipments to arrive in Glasgow. It's an aspiration that they'll return to Ibrox by the end of September, but it could slip beyond that. And he said that season ticket holders would receive communication about where they will be sat in Hampden. I think supporters have started receiving said communication about where they will be sitting at Hampden. He discussed the financial situation at Ibrox, Philip Clement as well, and lots of bits and pieces. The CEO search says that there will be news on that pretty soon. So I've seen a lot of the social media reaction, Chris, you've got to say, is probably more negative than anything else. I think a lot of fans saying it was a lot of talk, but not much sort of answers given to some of the concerns being raised, things like budget and all that sort of stuff. What did you make of it for those that never watched the briefing last night? Were you maybe expecting a little bit more from the chairman?
I think it was as expected. I think as you say there has been a number of comments about the lack of detail in certain areas on it. I think that it was obvious that the Ibrox situation was going to be, as we spoke about last night on the show, the Ibrox situation, it had to be the dominant one, so it's no surprise that it started with that. But we're still short on details. Also, the fans being the main one in terms of their seating. The chairman, outlined that will be by the end of the week. But there's still questions about the European campaign. Will Rangers be able to go back to Ibrox after the stadium is finished and pick up the European campaign, whether that be Champions League or Europa League, or will they be at Hampden for all of it? There's questions regarding the finances of it. What's this costing Rangers?
Yeah.
Does that then eat into the transfer budget? So I think that as usual with these things, when you only get 20 minutes and there only was half a dozen questions, 8 questions or so maybe, you're not going to get answers to every single thing, especially in that format. The club obviously agreeing that John knows exactly what he's going to be asked by the club before he sits down with them. So it's very structured, it's very scripted. The message that he wants to get out is obviously getting out. I don't think it was ever going to fully satisfy everyone. And I think that it almost sums up the mood of the fans right now. There has been this clamour for the chairman to speak. There has been this, when's he going to say something? When's he going to say something? I think he should have done it before now. I think some of the statements that have been put out regarding Ibrox, I think they should have at least had a quote from the chairman rather than just a club statement. There should have been something from the chairman. And then the club have decided to play it this way. He made it clear a few weeks ago that there would be something round about the Union Berlin game. Interview was then done over the weekend over in Germany, and it's also been put out last night because he said that there would be an update by the end of the month. So as I said in a piece last night, he has met that deadline. Unfortunately, that's the only guarantee that he has been able to give over these last few weeks, because he can't give guarantees on Ibrox because he just doesn't know. He can't give guarantees on transfer business because transfers in relies on transfers out, and you can't give guarantees in that because there's so many moving parts. So I don't think the reaction to it, I think a widespread reaction to it, I don't think that will come as a shock to the club or to the chairman, because they would have been fully aware of the mood of the fans. They'll have seen it, they'll have heard it, they'll have lived it and breathed it over these last, not just couple of weeks, the last couple of months or so. So I don't think that would have been a big surprise to them. It's done. It's a box ticked. When he will speak again, who knows? Whether he chooses to do press interviews and wants to sit down with the likes of ourselves over the next few weeks, again, we'll ask the question and we'll try and do that. But I think it was a box ticking exercise, and it's a box that's been ticked.
Yeah. John, if you're watching, I know you're a big fan of the show, then please come on and join us on one morning. That would be absolutely class. But you had a message. The final question was, do you have a message to the fans? He said, because I'm one of them, it's a message to me as well at a really challenging time. I don't make any bones about it. This is the biggest challenge I faced. You have personal challenges with your family, and those are the big challenges in life. But outside of that, it's the biggest I faced. You need to rise to challenges. You don't really have a choice to do you? We don't fold. Rangers fans have been through a lot of adversity at this club and its glorious history, and this is a moment of adversity. This is painful, personally painful, bruising, challenging, all of the above. But this club has a remarkable ability to rise to the challenges, and it will do that. I've talked about the challenges, the stand, the project. Never forget for whom we are doing it. Never forget for whom we are doing everything. The fans. We are here to win for them. We will complete the project through our people. It's a moment of adversity, but we've been through these moments before, and bigger, way bigger adversities. So we don't get consumed by this. We stand up, we grab it, we face it down, we finish the job. And you can go and read that in full, folks, over on the Rangers Review website. Right, that'll do us there. Plenty to pack into today's show. Big thanks to Chris, as ever, for joining us, and thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in to the programme. For those of you that are Rangers Review extra subscribers, I spoke to an FC20 podcaster by the name of Gus, who popped up with a Rangers jersey on, which was absolutely fantastic. But he gave us an insight into Vaclav Černý and what we can expect from him. And we also had a chat about Sam Lammers, of course, having joined 20 last week as well. So you can go and check that out. If there's any transfer news breaking over the course of the day, keep your eyes peeled on the website, on the social media accounts, and on YouTube as well, folks. You won't miss a thing. And if you're on WhatsApp, we've got that WhatsApp group running as well. If you want to join us there, the link is in the description below this video. Right, that'll do us there. Enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.